Blue whale. No creature in Earth's history, not even the biggest dinosaurs, comes close to the sheer scale of the blue whale. A full-grown adult can stretch longer than a basketball court and tip the scales at over 100 tons. And yet this record-breaking giant survives almost entirely on krill, small shrimp-like creatures barely visible to the naked eye. When feeding season arrives, a single blue whale can eat several tons of krill in a day. It does this by gulping enormous mouthfuls of seawater, then pushing that water back out through rows of baleen plates that trap the krill inside. Blue whales roam every ocean on the planet, covering vast distances with an unhurried, steady pace. They aren't built to chase down prey the way predators do. Instead, their survival strategy is pure efficiency. Long, streamlined bodies and a small dorsal fin set far toward the tail let them glide through open water with minimal effort. Their voices are just as extreme as their bodies. Blue whales produce some of the deepest, most powerful sounds of any animal alive, calls that can carry for hundreds of kilometers through the ocean and keep them connected across huge distances. Much of this sound sits below the range of human hearing, only detectable with specialized equipment. The 1900s were catastrophic for blue whales. Their massive size made them prime targets once industrial whaling reached the Southern Ocean, and populations crashed within decades. Hunting bans eventually gave some populations room to recover, but blue whales are still considered endangered across much of their range. Humpback whale. Few whales are as easy to spot as a humpback, thanks to its long white pectoral fins, powerful tail, and habit of putting on a show at the surface. Humpbacks breach constantly, hurling themselves out of the water before crashing back down. Scientists aren't entirely sure why. Theories range from communication to shedding parasites to social signaling. These whales are marathon travelers, with some populations covering thousands of kilometers each year between nutrient-rich polar feeding grounds and warm tropical waters where calves are born. They spend the colder months gorging on krill and small fish, then head toward the tropics as winter approaches. Perhaps the humpback's most famous trait is its song. Males perform long, structured vocal sequences that can stretch on for hours, and these songs evolve over time as entire populations shift toward new versions together. Researchers are still working out exactly what role the songs play, though there's a clear connection to mating. Humpbacks also show off some of the most sophisticated group hunting scene in the ocean. In certain regions, they hunt cooperatively using bubble nets. Several whales dive below a school of fish and blow rings of bubbles that spiral upward, corralling the fish into a tight cluster. The whales then rocket up through the center with mouths wide open. Their comeback from the whaling era is often held up as a conservation success story. After international protections took hold, many populations bounced back strongly, and today humpbacks are a common sight from coastlines and boats around the world. Sperm whale. The sperm whale holds the title of largest toothed predator on Earth, and its silhouette is impossible to mistake. A massive block-shaped head that can account for nearly a third of its total length. The head houses a spermaceti organ, a large chamber filled with waxy fluid. For a long time, its function was a mystery. Today, scientists think it's involved in sound production, buoyancy, and echolocation. Sperm whales are elite divers, plunging deeper than almost any other marine mammal. Dives can last over an hour, taking them into total darkness far below the surface, where they hunt squid, including giant squid whose battles leave scars across the whale's skin. Rather than filtering food from the water like baleen whales, sperm whales actively hunt using echolocation, firing off intense clicks that bounce off objects in the pitch-black depths. These clicks rank among the loudest sounds produced by any living creature. Male and female sperm whales live very different lives. Females stay together in close-knit family units alongside their calves, while grown males often roam alone, particularly in colder waters, and can grow dramatically larger than females as they age. Sperm whales have a long, complicated history with humans. Whalers once hunted them relentlessly for spermaceti oil, prized for lamps, candles, and industrial uses, a history that helped inspire Moby Dick. Today, they remain one of the deep ocean's most enduring symbols, living in a world humans have barely begun to explore. Orca. Despite the nickname killer whale, the orca is technically the largest species in the dolphin family. Its striking black and white pattern is instantly recognizable, but what really sets orcas apart is their intelligence and tightly knit social lives. They live in pods, family groups that, in many cases, stay together for life. Orcas are found in every ocean, from freezing polar seas to warm coastal waters, and different populations have developed their own specialized diets and hunting styles, often passed down through generations like cultural traditions. Some pods hunt fish almost exclusively, while others target seals, sharks, rays, or even whales far larger than themselves. Their hunting techniques are remarkably inventive. In polar regions, orcas will generate waves to knock seals off ice floes. In other areas, they work together to corral fish into tight balls before attacking. Some groups have even learned to flip sharks upside down to temporarily stun them. Communication runs deep in orca society. Each pod has its own distinctive calls, almost like a regional dialect, and calves spend years learning behaviors from their mothers and other relatives. This intelligence has captivated people for generations, though it's also fueled growing controversy over keeping orcas in captivity, since their natural lives involve enormous ranges and complex relationships that can't really be replicated in a tank. Contrary to their fearsome name, orca attacks on humans in the wild are extremely rare. Most encounters reveal an animal that's curious, alert, and remarkably coordinated. Gray whale. Gray whales make one of the longest migrations of any mammal on the planet, traveling every year between Arctic feeding grounds and warm breeding lagoons along the Pacific coast. A round trip covering thousands of kilometers, repeated generation after generation. Their feeding style sets them apart from most other baleen whales. Rather than lunging through schools of fish or swarms of krill, gray whales often feed along the ocean floor, rolling onto one side and scooping up sediment, then filtering out worms, crustaceans, and other small prey. This leaves visible tracks etched into the seabed. Gray whales tend to look rougher and more weathered than other whale species, their skin often covered in scars, barnacles, and whale eyes rather than appearing sleek and smooth. Still, they're powerful, resilient travelers capable of covering enormous stretches of coastline year after year. Gray whales suffered heavily from hunting during the 1800s, especially once whalers discovered their breeding lagoons. Some populations have since recovered well under protective laws, while others remain critically endangered. Along Baja California, gray whales are known for unusually calm, close encounters with boats. Mothers and calves sometimes approach vessels directly, offering rare face-to-face moments with one of the ocean's great travelers. Beluga whale. Belugas may be smaller than many other whales, but they make up for it with some of the most expressive faces in the ocean. Their white bodies and rounded foreheads make them instantly recognizable in Arctic and subarctic waters. Unusually for a whale, belugas have flexible necks that let them turn their heads side to side, an adaptation that helps them maneuver through sea ice and shallow coastal areas. They're also extremely vocal, producing a wide range of whistles, chirps, clicks, and squeals, sounds distinctive enough to earn them the nickname Canaries of the Sea. Belugas travel in social groups of varying size throughout the year, and during migration, hundreds can gather in estuaries and coastal bays. Calves are born gray or brown and gradually turn white as they mature. In the murky waters they often inhabit, echolocation becomes essential for finding food and navigating, with fish, crustaceans, and small invertebrates making up much of their diet. For Arctic indigenous communities, belugas have long been culturally and practically significant, with generations of hunters tracking their movements as part of life along northern coastlines. As Arctic ecosystems shift rapidly due to changing sea ice, industrial activity, and rising underwater noise, belugas face growing environmental pressure. Even so, watching a pod move beneath cracked sea ice remains one of the most striking sights in the northern seas. Narwhal. Narwhals have earned the nickname unicorns of the sea, thanks to the long, spiral tusk that grows from the heads of many males. That unusual feature fueled centuries of myth and mistaken identity. Medieval traders once sold narwhal tusks as genuine unicorn horns. In reality, the tusk is an elongated tooth that can reach several meters in length, packed with millions of nerve endings and apparently sensitive to shifts in water temperature, pressure, and salinity. Males sometimes engage in slow, deliberate tusk crossing with one another, though researchers are still piecing together exactly what purpose this behavior serves. Narwhals live in Arctic waters around Canada, Greenland, and parts of the Russian Arctic, spending much of their lives weaving through drifting sea ice and diving deep in search of fish and squid. Compared to more vocal species like dolphins or humpbacks, narwhals are relatively quiet and hard to observe, their mottled gray skin blending into shifting Arctic light. Climate change is reshaping the world narwhals depend on, altering ice patterns that influence migration routes and opening the door to more frequent incursions by orcas into Arctic waters. Much of what narwhals do beneath the ice remains a mystery, largely hidden from direct human observation. Bowhead whale. Bowhead whales are built entirely for life in the Arctic. Their massive, reinforced skulls can smash through sea ice to reach air, and they carry the longest baleen plates of any whale species, perfectly suited for filtering tiny crustaceans out of frigid northern waters. A thick layer of blubber keeps them insulated, and their rounded, dorsal fin-free bodies help minimize heat loss. What truly sets bowheads apart, though, is their lifespan. Some individuals have been documented living past 200 years, a discovery made after researchers found centuries-old harpoon fragments embedded in their bodies. Commercial whaling once drove bowhead populations to the brink, but with protection, some populations are gradually rebuilding. Among all mammals on Earth, bowhead whales stand out as some of the longest lived, carrying centuries of ocean history within their massive frames.